We might be in the midst of winter, but it's not looking like that across many parts of Canada.
No, temperatures are expected to be record-breaking in parts of the country today. Environment Canada says the above-seasonal temperatures are due to a shift in slow patterns in the atmosphere, and that's bringing up warm air from the American South.
With more on what's behind this warm weather and the implications it's having across the country is senior climatologist at Environment Canada, David Phillips. Thank you so much for being here.
You're so welcome. It's his false spring, I think. It's
false
not.
Spring.
It is quite something.
Alternative winter.
Well, there you go, Ben. I think it's a great wording.
Yeah. So, David, you said that we're seeing records being broke by anywhere from 4 to 7 degrees above the previous records. So that's something we haven't seen a lot of. What's going on?
Well, I think that's what surprised me. Two things. One is the way in which the amount by which we're breaking records. I'm a climatologist. I like breaking records, and but usually it's by a tenth of a degree or a half a millimeter. We're seeing records being clobbered and smashed. I mean, temperatures that would be got up to 18 degrees. The previous record was 11. I mean, that's something.
That's
it's a different world.
Chasm,
exactly. And then also, Ben, it's the duration of this warmth. I mean, you often see in February 1 or 2 day wonders. You know, it warms up and then that's a surprise, and then all of a sudden winter comes back. We're seeing temperatures for the last week and a half have been record-breaking. We're seeing one of the longest February heat waves that I've ever seen. These are temperatures that would be typical in early May, not mid-February. And what we've seen is, and we thought this winter was going to be a little cooler than normal.
Yes, I remember that.
And what we saw, El Nino started in September. It was dead in the water in February. Before winter even started, it was over. And we saw the waters in the Pacific warmed up.
That was last year.
That's right, yes. So so December of this past year, La Nina was finished. We saw the warm waters picking up. And then we saw a lot of powerful storms, like in California. And they pushed across the continent and right up into northern parts of the United States, eastern Canada. And at the same time, we saw the cold air coming down over Victoria and Vancouver. So we're talking about the warmth of the east, but certainly in British Columbia, they're thinking, my God, this has been one of the longest winters, snowiest winters they've had in a long time. So a little bit of back and forth, instead of the weather moving from west to east, sort of from north to south in the west, and from south to north, and well to the north in the east.
So, David, as senior climatologist, when we're talking about, in particular, the air moving up from the south and moving north and these record temperatures, is this worrisome for you?
Well, it is. I always think the weather you're blessing may be the weather you're cursing later on. Yeah. We just don't know what the implications of this until we come to the summer. It could mean that we're seeing more bugs, more insects because they're surviving. I mean, they love this kind of weather. We could certainly see flooding issues. Yes. We're seeing 90 centimeters of snow sitting on the ground in New Brunswick and Quebec City and 60 in Charlottetown. I mean, if you go from slush to sweat, we could really be standing in water. It could be flooding.
And that was the question I had for sort of someone who sits on the outside of this and receives this information but doesn't know too much. Is it like a pendulum that swings? When the pendulum swings too far in the winter and it gets too hot, does it mean it's automatically going to swing the other way in the summertime?
You know, I wish it would work that way, Ben, but it doesn't. You know, it doesn't. We don't average it out. And I think the analogy with the pendulum is a good one, because what we have seen is this is sort of the mark of the kind of weather we've seen across the country and across the world, is that it's almost going from one extreme to the other. I've talked to farmers who said to me, I could have bought flood insurance and drought insurance in the same growing season. Yeah. It's like weather is not normal anymore. It's like winters are not necessarily cold and summers are not necessarily hot. And I think that is really the kind of flavor, the personality of what our seasons seem to be becoming.
Yeah, I like that you said the new normal is not normal.
Exactly.
So is 20 to 30 years from now, what will winter even look like?
Well, I think in fact, the kind of winter we're seeing now, if there's anything about this winter, this may be the dress rehearsal or the preview of what winter would look like maybe in 30, 40, 50 years, where you end up with more rain than snow. Right. You have, May temperatures in February. You have a shorter winter. And so in many ways, this is it's unusual now, but in 30, 40 years ago, this may be the new norm, as you say, Kelsey.
And because you're talking about this unpredictability, I remember last winter, and yes, I was here specifically in Toronto, but I remember that it got very warm, and then we got snow in late April.
You're right.
Are we talking unpredictability to that extreme?
Well, you know, it does wild weather. I would say to people now, don't put away the snow shovel. Don't write the obituary on winter quite yet. We still have March, and our maps looking like March looks a little colder than normal. So my sense is those people who do love winter, there still will be a chance. But you're right, Ben. You know, we had snow in May in last year in Toronto, in southern Ontario. So the weather is weird, wild, and wacky. And I think this winter is just a good example of what it's been for a while.
It makes our job really fun.
David Phillips, thank you so much.
Ben.
Senior climatologist with Environment Canada. We appreciate all your insights this morning.